Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Hush Hush Taboo Talks. I'm Juju.
And I'm Shay.
Happy Scorpio season, happy Halloween. By the time this airs, it might be mid-Scorpio season, but better late than never. We figure we're not going to do the traditional traits and characteristics. If y'all want that, head on over to Spotify, because we did all 12 of them. And then I think we did a few of them twice. Scorpio might be our debut on YouTube. So we're going to change it up a bit because we're creative and we can't help ourselves. And change is the spice of life. Variety is the spice of life. So in commemoration of Scorpio season, I decided, like, why not, because we rotate topics, why not cover, bear with me, y'all, quality over quantity, loneliness versus aloneness, real peace versus placation. I feel like these are all cousins of one another. I feel like they have the same themes running through them, and I feel like Scorpio is one of the signs to discern those things, to decipher those things. A few keywords as relates to the topic we're doing now about Scorpio from Medium.com are transformation, destroying the old to make room for the new, hidden information, and intense passion emerging in your life. Another set of adjectives from Pinterest are deep, intense, transformative, healing, renewing, penetrating, erotic, magnetic, and mysterious. We already did erotic, and like we said, y'all got to pay for the rest of the erotic stuff, but we will go into the penetrating and the transformative, the deep and the intense on today. So get right into it. Quality over quantity is probably, we can conclude with that because that's the overarching theme. I'll start first with a loneliness versus aloneness. So I feel like for a while, for the longest time, those two terms were synonymous with me. If you were alone, then you were necessarily lonely. Alone meaning physically by yourself in solitude. Lonely meaning the feeling of being alone. So you can be in a room full of people and feel lonely. Mm-hmm. And you can be alone and feel completely content with the company, the energy you have. But I used to think a while ago that they were synonymous. I prefer, especially now that I'm getting into my writing and my artistry in general, I prefer my solitude. I prefer being lonely. It's when you have time to be still, to meditate, to know yourself, to develop your, not even expectation, to develop your expectations of yourself, to live up to those, to journal and to keep track of that. And then kind of, I guess, to be a mirror to other people. Because, a lot of people who are empaths, a lot of people who embody Scorpio energy, whether or not they have Scorpio in their chart, arouse antagonism in others. And the others are reacting or responding to something innately in them, not necessarily what the other person is presenting. This is not absolute, but this is what I found a lot of the times to be the case. Let me see. A loneliness versus aloneness. How do you feel about, as an artist, I would think that you would need solitude too, but do you feel lonely when you're in solitude?
No.
How do you differentiate those things?
No. So ever since I was younger, I like my me time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can ask my mom. I'm in my room. I'm listening to my music. I'm vibing. I'm writing my songs or I'm writing my books. Even when I was 16, I wrote books. Ask my sisters. Full books. So I'm always in my creative. When I'm alone, I feel like I have kind of like Scorpio energy with the deep thought and the intense thought. Mm-hmm. So when I'm alone, I feel the intense, deep thought, and I feel like it pushes me to be more creative when I'm alone, because it pushes me to be more productive, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I was always in my room doing something, whether it was dancing, singing, writing, whatever it was always creative. But my mom was like, "Why are you always in your room?" Mm-hmm. Like, she wanted me to come out of my room, but I always been the type that I like my me time. I never felt, and I like my quiet time too. A lot of people cannot handle quiet time. Right. A lot of people need music and need like meditation music in the background and all this stuff in the background. Sometimes I like just peace and quiet. Mm-hmm. And I am still in tranquility in that peace and quiet. I am good. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need nothing in the background to have my creative juices flowing. Everybody's different, but I don't need that. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, like, I'm deep, intense, passionate, and go full throttle in my creativity. I feel like when I'm in quiet by myself. So I never felt, no, I never felt alone when I was lonely. I never felt lonely when I was alone,
Right.
backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I never felt that type of,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like I'm most at ease when I'm alone. I'm getting better at being around people because it's inevitable. But I feel like I used to be more extroverted when I was younger. I think I exhausted all that. And also I used to drink more. So of course, I mean there are some people who drink and they're by themselves a lot, but being around people is easier for me when I'm drinking. Being around people I don't know, especially. But it does take energy. All of this is energy exchange. Introvert, extrovert, whatever. I feel like the Scorpio has mastered their Carl Jung shadow selves, or that maybe they symbolize the mastery of the shadow self. I think the sign of Scorpio does that the best. That's what we look to, that's what it's symbolic of, a shadow self, and uncovering that, bringing it to the fore, and then sharing your knowledge so that people are like, I have a shadow self, so do you. How about you do some digging too? It might help you.
Right, and I feel like Scorpio, because it's water, I never looked at Scorpio signs being water. Never. I feel like when I look at a Scorpio, when I talk to a Scorpio, I don't feel the emotional part of them as I feel in Pisces or Cancer. I never got that energy. I felt they always give me stoic, like, you know what I mean? Like steel, kind of like earthy type of energy to me.
Okay.
I never came across like an emotional Scorpio, if that makes sense. I feel like they're probably the least emotional out of the water signs.
Right, like visibly.
Visibly.
I feel like they embody that still waters run deep thing.
Yes, and also, like, they expressive. So I feel like maybe they're most expressive, like in their creativeness or in their clothing. When they wear dark, that's how they're feeling at the moment. They're intense, so they like the dark colors, the dark clothing, and all that. Maybe that's how they express their emotions.
Right. They're probably the earth signs of the fire sign. They're probably the earth signs of the water sign.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
I get that. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's there. In fact, it might be there more profoundly because you don't see it. And there's rumbling down there.
Right.
They said something like, I think there's like underwater storms that occur, and then the whole like there's not one sign of it on the top. Like on the surface of the ocean.
Right.
But underneath there's all this shit brewing.
Right.
Real peace versus placation, or versus pleasing people superficially to not argue. That I think also is Scorpio. So I used to have an issue with confrontation. I still don't enjoy it because it's either we're going to see eye to eye or we're not. And more times than not, people don't see eye to eye after, if they don't see eye to eye before, especially if there's no effective and respectful communication.
Right.
But so the real peace, I've heard many people say it different ways. Something to the effect of, in order to have real peace, you have to be able to go to war. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I do like what Bruce Lee said. He said, be a gardener. He said, be a warrior in a garden, not a gardener in a war. So in other words, to be able to know how to be confrontational, to be able to defend yourself, to be assertive, to be able to get aggressive if one is aggressive toward you, but to always keep that sense of garden around you, to always keep the serenity about you. And if you have to go to war, then you leave your garden and go to war, as opposed to being willy-nilly in a war zone. So to have the warrior spirit, but to be like Scorpio, to not necessarily have to exercise it all the time.
Right.
And now it's not like it's not that I don't have an issue with confrontation. It's like, well, I'm just so used to it now because I'm like, I'm almost 40. Right. So people have to, in these terms of duality, good and evil, black and white, and all of this, which I think there's way more than just the two, but that's what we're taught. That's what we're conditioned to.
Right.
I think there is such a thing as not having to fight to maintain your peace. I think that's what the world does. I think that's what politics instructs us that we have to do. I don't think that's necessarily so. Just because that's all we've known in our linear timelines, and linear timelines doesn't mean that's all there is, and that definitely doesn't mean that that's all that's possible. How do you feel about real peace versus placation?
Well, I feel like So when I went through my spiritual journey, I think I had it wrong at that moment. When I was going through my spiritual journey, I was saying that, I'm going to let stuff fly. I'm not going to, go to war with people, once they say something crazy to me, or just brush it off my shoulders and keep it moving. But that gives people the chance to do it again. And I noticed that. So like you said, with that analogy that you made, be aggressive when you need to be. You don't walk around being or looking for confrontation. You don't have to match anybody's nasty energy, but you do have to put people in their place when need be and set boundaries. And that's when you can, have healthy relationships and, like you said, grow to in healthy relationships, acknowledge healthy friendships, and therefore, I feel like now if confrontation comes to me, I'm not looking for it, but I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna finish it if you started with me.
Yeah.
And I was in this journey where I'm like, no, nobody is going to take me out my element, but it's not taking you out your element. And even if you do step out your element for 1 minute, that 1 minute is you putting up that fence and that boundary for them not to do it again. So sometimes you have to stoop a little bit there with them in order to nip it in the bud fast. Because I say, you gonna step on my toe, you're not gonna step on my foot. And I will stop you right then and there now. I'm not gonna be quiet anymore. I'm not going to look for anything or look for confrontation or look for an argument, but you're not gonna sit here and try to play me. Even indirectly or directly, it's not gonna be done.
Right.
I'm gonna put you in your place however you want to settle it. And the reason why I went to that level of being fearful of confrontation is because I was a physical confrontation person before. So I fought with my hands, before, long time ago. Because now, I will electrocute you with a
Come on with it.
pepper spray you and shoot you.
Where the chair at? Woo! Let's get the chair.
Come on.
Yeah.
So
Jerry.
Right. But I don't do that no more. I don't get physical. But with my words, I can definitely have a fair exchange with you anytime. But I was so fearful of confrontation in my spiritual journey because I thought it was going to bring me back to that person that I was to lay hands on people physically. But now I know how to handle and balance my emotions. I feel like that's going back into Scorpio energy where they balance their emotions very well, as we said, in expression. Now I put all my emotions into creativity instead of fighting it out and all that. Like, I can have a fair exchange with you, but I'm not going to go there physically. Unless you touch me first. If you touch me first, then I'm gonna beat you up, then press charges, and then show up to court every court date because I am that girl.
Oh yes. If you don't, then you don't take it seriously, and then it goes the other way.
I am that girl.
Yeah, the litigious kind.
You will get beat up and go to jail at the same time.
Right. So, and then get beat up further in jail by not me. Pick your battle.
Pick your battle.
Yeah, pick your battles.
Pick your battles. Right.
But somebody got to be a special kind of stupid to cross you the second time. If you reoffend,
people do it.
Then you're making a choice to reoffend.
People do it
like you said, I'm gonna express myself and tell you you're stepping on my toe.
Right.
Before you wouldn't even say nothing.
And you're not gonna do it again. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you don't say nothing, then you can't expect them to know. If you say it explicitly and then they reoffend, that's when that's when you become the gardener in the war.
Right.
Gardeners have garden tools, hoes and rakes and shit that can go over your head. I'm just saying.
But I wasn't the person that said anything. I let things slide. I let a lot of things slide, and I don't regret anything now. But knowing how I am in my emotional intelligence, I can solve things with my words. And looking back, I'm like, I'm gonna punch this bitch. Right? You know what I'm saying? But now I know I could go toe to toe with you with my words, and I could eat you up. But I don't want to go there. I try to refrain as much as possible of even trying to go there.
Yeah.
But you have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to put up that gate. You have to let people know that you're not gonna take crap from nobody, because if you are a walking mat, they're gonna walk all over you.
Yes. Set boundaries for yourself, to others. And the whole setting boundaries for yourself comes in solitude. You
Yeah.
have to be quiet
Oh,
and
yeah,
still the mind to know
what your boundaries are.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And clearly. Because I used to know what they were, and then out of nowhere, someone came up to me, and hypothetically, someone would trigger me without me knowing that that was a trigger. And it's like, oh, you didn't do enough shadow work. You didn't do enough deep soul searching, Scorpio work. I mean, that's my rising sign, so I don't know where the quotes came from.
Yeah.
But no, that requires solitude,
Yeah.
and that requires being alone.
Right.
Maybe even feeling a little lonely too, because we all know what that feels like. Maybe feeling like you're by yourself. Maybe feeling like you have no witnesses, and being your own damn witness.
But you know what? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, well,
I don't wanna
Scorpio
cut
is
you
the
off.
prime sign of being their own witness, I feel, along with Leo. Like the fixed signs are like this. This is my experience. I don't need y'all to agree or disagree, but to invoke that,
Right.
invoke that on within oneself. Yeah.
Right. What I was gonna say is going back to the lonely versus alone as well, because we're still talking about Scorpios. It's part of it. The most alone and lonely I have ever felt was in a room full of people. Now I don't know how that contributes to Scorpio energy, but that's how I feel when I'm in a room full of people that I don't know. That's when I will feel the most lonely.
Regardless of the energy you're feeling.
Regardless of the energy I'm feeling.
Okay.
And not all the time, but I've had moments that I experienced before, being in a room packed, like it could be anything packed, and I felt lonely there.
Right.
And alone.
Right. Well, yeah.
Which could
you
be
felt lonely. Yeah.
Which could be energy. It's too many energies to like take on at once because we're empaths. It could be that too.
For sure.
Because I don't like going out unless it's like fall season and stuff like that. I don't like being around a lot of people all the time.
No.
Because that's tiring. So maybe that was what I was feeling maybe at that time.
Yeah, that's what I felt. That moment when you're like, I'm waiting for any excuse, like the phone won't ring, nothing.
I'm gone. I'm not waiting for no excuse.
You're not waiting for.
I'm not waiting for an excuse.
You don't need your bowels to explode.
Hi, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed. Good night.
I have to go.
I'm not waiting for no excuse. Right?
No
is a complete sentence.
That's
if I don't
Scorpio.
feel like, if I don't feel like going to something or doing this or doing that, I ain't doing it.
Then it's a home no.
Right.
I mean, and now I've gotten to the point where I can almost intuit if I will have a good time or not, and I can't really tell you I can't go by the events that I haven't attended because I haven't attended them.
Right.
But I can probably bet that I would have had a much better time at home doing my own activities, working on my own business, on my own practices, than going out and forcing a good time. Or it could have been, but didn't necessarily have to be forcing a good time. But if I'm not 100% in it, unless it's obligatory, then I ain't gonna do it at this point because I don't fucking have to. And that's also Scorpio. Which all leads us back to quality over quantity.
Right.
I feel like the loneliness. When you're lonely, you're feeling that way. When you're alone, you can assess the quality. You can how do I put this? Decrease the quantity that's unnecessary. Because I used to have I feel like I have hundreds and hundreds of Facebook friends now, which is fine because, I use it to promote our projects and my art and stuff. But before I was even doing all of this in a formal way or in a technical way, when I was in college, it's like the more friends I had, the better. Subconsciously, like I would get drunk and I would Facebook friend everybody, and they would Facebook friend me. And then I think one day I went through. This was like years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I went through and deleted people who I was like, I don't even remember having met you. And this is quantity. And I'm like, oh, the number gets bigger, so I must be more fulfilled. That's a fucking lie.
Yeah.
The quality. So being in isolation, being in solitude with yourself, gets you to see. The quality in the few people that are qualitatively sound in your life versus the quantity of all the rubbish. There's way more rubbish usually. In life especially. I think we covered this in consumption. Like what you consume mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. You get more rubbish than you do quality, and you have to sift through the rubbish to get to the quality. But then they say that the effort it takes to sift through it makes the quality worthwhile. And then real peace versus placating. Real peace is quality. The placating is like, oh, I'm just not going to argue with you because I don't want to get into a confrontation. No, fuck that shit. Like
Yeah,
you said, I can
right.
go toe to toe. We can do Venus and Serena
Right.
in their prime, back and forth, in terms of setting boundaries, and
Right.
in terms of. But in order to set them, like we said, you have to establish them in the first place.
Right.
Your own boundaries, meaning being in solitude and getting that together. So, I don't know. Overall, I feel like quality is less is more. Unless it's a drag show or something, unless like there's something where it's like you got to be go all out and be ostentatious, but usually less is more. Usually,
Well, not for me. Less is not more. I like being extra. So.
oh, you talking about style?
It's style.
Oh, well, yeah. No. Well, you ain't talking about people because you just said.
Oh, hell no,
Okay.
not people.
Oh, well, honey.
No, not people, but
Yeah.
style. I like being extra.
Oh, for sure.
I
me
like
too.
I like that.
Yeah. The crowns and all of that. Yeah. No, I'm down. I'm getting
But
out my
people,
hats now.
yeah, no, I like that hat.
Thank
That's
you.
cute.
I'm getting my beanies
But,
out. Yeah.
but people, no, yes, less is more when it comes to people. Because you know why? It's the less people you have in your circle, the more drama free it is. And it's the truth.
It is the
literally
truth.
is the
It really
truth.
is.
I went from a whole dinner 2 years ago, and you know this, with a bunch of girls at my dinner. It was like 20 of them. And
It just sounds like a nightmare. I'm sorry. I don't even know.
Don't make me laugh.
No, it's not because of the people. It's because of the number.
Stop it! I can't with you.
All right.
But now, from those 20 girls in that table, I'm talking to like 3 of them.
That's a fraction of a fraction.
3 of them. And when I tell you my peace has grown, the less people I socialize with, is the more peace I've gained.
That's right. And that you have to be still for that. You have to be still after that dinner
And
to realize what that
alone.
was. Yeah.
And alone.
Yeah.
To think about it. You have to, because people think, oh, popularity and this and this, and then quantity, like how many years you put into the friendship, don't mean shit anymore.
It really don't.
Because quality people can come in your life in 2 days, 2 weeks, and they treat you and react to you better than people that you knew for like 20 years plus.
Monica said that, the singer.
Yes, but she's a Scorpio.
Yep.
Look at that.
Hey, come on, Monica. Yes.
She's
she
a
is.
Scorpio.
She
So look at
embodies
that.
that. Yeah.
So look at that energy. So that, I feel like that wrapped it up right there.
I think
That
it
Scorpio,
did.
Monica.
I'll say one more thing because
Yeah.
we already said it. A few years ago, I was way more drunk than I was, than I am now,
Look at
like
me
on a
laugh.
frequent basis. But when you are drunk all the time, or most of the time, you don't
clouded.
take inventory of
Yeah,
your
and you're
actions.
clouded
not
a little bit.
You are a lot of it.
Yeah,
You clouded.
yeah.
You're not in solitude. You're in
Yeah.
solitude, but it's not meaningful solitude. It's not
Exactly.
introspection and reflection. And now I've got 7 demons later, meaning because I had my own too.
So
But
17 crystals.
oh no, I always have my crystals now. 17 crystals later, and 7 demons extracted. What you call it?
Stop
7
making
demons
me
exorcised. Now this whole
Oh,
what you call
God.
shadow self.
Right.
That's integration. So you integrate what you call
That's
your
Scorpio.
demons. So I'm fine with my so-called demons, but I'm talking about the outside physicality that manifested as demons.
Part.
They're like 7 of them.
Yeah.
I read 7 of them. All got rid of, and I feel so much better and lighter because of it.
Yeah.
And you don't always see the fall of the demons. You don't need to. I used to be like, no, I want to see it because they see mine.
No.
I want to see it. That means that I want to see that I'm kind of calling negativity onto others.
Yeah.
I don't want to do
wish
that.
them well. Yeah.
I wish them. Well, I don't. At this point, I'm like I'm aloof. I'm like
Yeah.
I wish myself. I
Wow.
wish all living things, what they want to do and their trajectory be, steady.
My ancestors does the work for me. I don't have to wish on nobody.
That's
to be
what I'm
honest
saying.
with you. And I don't wish no evil on anybody, but
No.
ancestors are strong. Like, you gotta be very careful who you mess with. You really do. Like, especially when you know the person had a good heart and was good to you. I mean,
Yeah. You
that's
do.
just it. That's
And
a whole nother episode.
That is.
How are we always in the
Calling
episode?
on-
Another episode.
Because and we have this as a record to
Right.
go back because these things beget
Yeah,
more ideas.
yeah.
But yeah, real quick, you don't have to see the downfall of your enemies. Now, like I said, I heard about former bullies of mine committing suicide, which is not a laughing matter. I did
Yeah,
not wish
no,
this
my
on
God,
them because
yeah.
I'm
That's
very familiar
horrible.
with suicidal ideation personally. you don't have to see, and then it made me sad actually because
Yeah.
I just wanted them to stop being shitty to me.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to off
That's
themselves.
horrible. They were battling their own demons, and then they were projecting it out onto others.
Yes,
to
to
hurt
be
others. Hurt people
chronically-
hurt people.
Yes, they were
So,
chronically
yeah,
hurt, and they were
right.
hurting in themselves. But it's easier to
Right.
hurt someone else. But
That's
you ain't gotta
horrible.
see it. You ain't gotta
Yeah.
see their downfall
No.
to progress.
Right.
You don't even have to worry about their downfall. I
Right.
wish all living things well.
Right.
I focus primarily on myself, and then that which I can do for those in my
Amen.
circle, and then progressively everywhere else.
Amen.
So you ain't gotta look for it. You ain't gotta
Yeah.
see it. And
Yeah.
if just because you don't see it doesn't mean it ain't so.
Yeah.
That's with everything.
Yeah.
But
Amen. Ashe, I like that.
I mean, hey,
I
I do
like
too.
that.
I like that
Yeah.
too. Thank y'all.
Thank you for watching.
We appreciate y'all. Happy Scorpio season. Thank you, Scorpios. Thank you, everything else, because like all the signs are amalgamation of perfection, I suppose. If you get all the good signs together, if you get all the qualities, then you're doing well. You're a walking rainbow, so to speak. But thank you, Scorpio. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, engagers. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We got more for you.
Bye bye.